Hi, I'm Philip Hundl, and we're back with my top 10 tips in successfully uh, mediating a land dispute case. Land dispute being um, can be a partition case, easement dispute case, condemnation case, eminent domain case. Um, I am a attorney that focuses on land litigation and also mediation. I've got quite a few videos out there talking about my land litigation practice, and many of you don't know about my mediation practice. So I wanted to start off this video series talking about some tips, and this is directed at attorneys but also parties, at some things that you can do, I think, to set yourself up to give yourself the best possible chance to settle your land dispute in a mediation context. So with that, let's move on. We're on number 5. Be creative. Be open. That could be interpreted as be open-minded. In a mediation, and we'll talk about a format. Oftentimes, there's an opening session or a joint session. And I'll talk about both parties. It could be 3 parties, 4 parties involved. Especially with these partition cases, sometimes you have 4 different parties with 4 different interests involved. But you have a joint session where the attorneys and even the parties can express their position in the case. And then after that joint session, you're broken out into separate rooms. If different, 1 or 2 parties are aligned in their interest, they may actually be in the same room. And then really the mediation or the negotiating begins then. I always ask my clients, and I insist on the attorneys and the parties in this, even before the joint session, but in the joint session, is to stay open-minded and be creative with some solutions. In partition cases, oftentimes parties will come in with really only option A in their mind. This is the only way possible that this partition could happen. This is the only way it makes sense, and I absolutely get that. The landowners know the land better than anyone else, but I always stress, please, and it's better if you, before mediation, even have plans, A, B, and C, and even D and F, because what you have in mind and your options on a partition case, for example, believe me, the other parties are going to have other options and other ideas. So the more options and ideas, or open-mindedness and creative thinking, is going to have a better chance at hopefully reaching a deal. A very common saying that I always tell the parties in the mediation, and even when I'm representing a party in mediation as their attorney, a successful mediation is one in which the case gets resolved, and frankly, everyone goes home not happy, but or maybe they may go home unhappy or not completely satisfied, but it's resolved and over. And then typically later, they're relieved that it did get resolved. So no one normally leaves the mediation extremely happy, jumping up and down because, hey, we won and they lost. There's no winning and losing out of mediation. It's just getting a case resolved and settled, and everyone moving on. In the context of being creative and open-minded in an easement dispute case, or in a eminent domain condemnation context, maybe the talking about the how broad or how narrow the easement agreement will be, how restrictive or less restrictive it will be on the parties, and having some degree of flexibility. Okay, some things that you can give up on, and maybe other things that you can't. Width of easement. Maybe you're asking for extreme, more narrow easement, but you're willing to expand that somewhat. Size of the pipes, you name it. If there's some, obviously condemnor may want a blanket, ingress and egress easement, and you're able to narrow it down to a specific area or road, or make it, instead of a permanent road access as part of their terms of their easement, maybe it's just temporary, because really that's all they need. And then on the always talk about these non-monetary terms when we're talking about easements. And in the condemnation context, it could be an easement in a non-condemnation context. Be able to ebb and flow with the monetary terms. So if you as a party are getting a lot of the easement terms that you're wanting, then make no mistake that the other side is going to probably expect and want you to receive less money, or they're going to want to pay you less money because you're getting more and better easement terms, so they're expecting to pay you less on the monetary side. So now that doesn't mean as a party you accept that and go, but just know and be aware and open-minded about that. So also think about sometimes being creative is some ideas that as a mediator we'll throw out. Is there's sometimes ways in which a party can receive non-monetary compensation, call it whatever you want, in-kind compensation. I've seen drainage easement deals in which Condor says, yes, we're going to dig this canal, and yes, you can have the dirt, and yes, you can have the dirt, and we'll spread the dirt a certain way. All those things have value, and so think about all those different components in a case and try to work those in, being creative, try to work those into a potential deal. Number 6, show your work, support your damages. I can't tell you how many times a party will tell me, the mediator, one side sends over an offer and I take the counter, or I take the offer, a counter offer over to the other side, and the first thing that attorney for the other side says, well, how'd they get there? How'd they get to these damages? How'd they get there? And so show your work, or even before mediation, be prepared to calculate and show how you get to your damages. Are there times when frankly damages are pulled out of the sky and just it's a number that sometimes, but most of the time, a party or the lawyer will have a way in which there's a methodology and there's a way to come about or come up with those damages. But it's extremely helpful to have, if we're talking about damages related to land, there's obviously appraisals. If we're talking about cost to cure, there's invoices or estimates for people to do the work that needs to be done to cure the problem or the damage. If we're talking about land values and land being taken, then you've got appraisals, you've got comparable sales, you've got brokers' opinions, you can have earnest money contracts that maybe they've closed, maybe they haven't closed, maybe you've got closing statements. Whatever you have that can support those numbers, that's helpful. Sure, sometimes the only thing you have is an email from a broker that says all I can say is that the land sold for whatever per acre. But if that's what you got, that's all you've got. But it is helpful to have something, helpful to have a methodology, have a way to show how you calculated those damages, and then something to support that. What I think is oftentimes very counterproductive in a mediation, and I discourage it, is parties using the mediation as just a discovery tool or technique and a fact-finding mission, and they're not there, or it's debatable whether they're there in good faith or they're just using the mediation to try to flush out more of the other side's case. I think that should be done prior to mediation, through written discovery, through oral depositions, you name it. But there's lots of other techniques in which to, get information or get more information about the other side's case, besides mediation. So we've made it to the top 6, or not even top 6, but the 6 tips. We've got a few more tips to go to get to our top 10 tips in successfully reaching and mediating and resolving a land dispute.